So, you know, for the first week, maybe 2 weeks, I thought maybe this is just part of that mud settling or whatever. But months later, now the pit is completely gone. That plastic liner is out of there, all that fluid is out of there, all that mud is out of there, it's just dirt. And then it rains. And now what do I see? Bubbles. So I called the Railroad Commission, which is who governs the sites. The guy came out, the inspector came out. He filled out his report, got the report about 2 weeks later. So reports always take about 2 weeks. We got the reports back. The report said he didn't even see any bubbles. So I called him again. And I said, now we've got these pockets, and there's this bright red fluid stuff running out of the same pockets that these gas bubbles are coming up out of. Now, I mean, it's not percolating, but I mean, obviously they come up in little streams of bubbles, kind of intermittently. Second time that he comes out, my son walked around the property, so I go out and I said, so what did you think? And he said, I still see the bubbles. Okay, the photographer from the county newspaper has like 16,000 pictures of the bubbles. The photographer from the other county newspaper, he's got a gajillion pictures of it. Everybody that drives by and has been over here, we're talking about dozens of people, everybody's seen the bubbles except you, and you're the guy that inspects well sites for a living. Oh, that's right, you actually have to get out of your truck and walk over here. And then he looked at it and he goes, yeah, those are bubbles. Okay, what is causing those bubbles? The Railroad Commission only does a few things. They want to do a lot. I'll tell you that they want to do a lot. But they also tell you is that they can only really do this much. So when you ask them to test things, they don't really test for anything except for chlorides, which is salt, right? Well, with the bubbles and this red fluid stuff, I don't really care how much chloride is in that water. I want to know what that red fluid stuff is, and I want to know what's causing the bubbles. So we get a report back that says that it was 650 parts per billion of chlorides. I'm going to scream. So I sent another email, this time to the district office. I want to know what is causing the red fluid stuff. And oh, by the way, since we've been playing around with this, when you take a fireplace lighter out to the bubbles ignite. They send the inspector back out and he looks at it. Their report was that it was a natural occurrence and just part of the settling process. Well, your settling catches on fire. Early tore through this fence. This is our fence. Paid $15,000 for this fence. Runs the full length of the road and the property. Right about here is where they cut it off and installed this rusty gate on there for it. So the wellheads are there now, where the drilling rig is, and then down here, where the other side of the fence is, our fence is doing a great job of protecting their piping and their condensate tanks. It's doing a really good job for that. When I asked them, after they showed up, we got no notice that they were coming. My wife and I had actually waited for us to leave for work and school before they tore that section of fence out, and to get a work crew in there. And when I stopped them, when I showed up and I asked him, I said, why didn't you call us and tell us, or why didn't you tell us that you were going to do this? And he said, there wasn't any time. I said, so let me get this straight. You had time to get together a crew of 30 workmen, 6 bulldozers, a fencing company, welders, and all this equipment, but you didn't have time to call me? Want to try this again, Mr. Mayor? Did we get any kind of compensation?
No, I'm saying, do surface owners there get any kind of compensation?
Yes, you get compensation, but it's not a negotiated amount. It's whatever the lease calls for, which in our case is, well, let me clarify that. There is, not in my case, but Texas state law says that they have to pay a minimum of $1,500 per site. So in our case, they would have normally given us $3,000, but again, because they want to be our good neighbors, they actually gave us $30,000 or $15,000 per site. And it might certainly sound like $30,000 was a lot of money. Is that right? Yeah. $30,000 might seem like a lot of money. But when they do over $200,000 worth of damage.
So they don't have to return your site to what it, I mean, they don't have to replace your $15,000 fence, they don't have to recover with decent topsoil and seed it, and that's because the state of Texas owns all the mineral rights, is that it?
No, that decision is entirely up to, it's whatever is in the lease and the generosity. It's up to the leaseholder, which is not me, and it's up to the generosity of the company. Now you got to understand, since we've been giving them such a hard time being outspoken, they're not really going to do anything for me that they absolutely have to or are made to do.
Who's your leaseholder?
The name of the individual or the name of the company?
Or company?
It's an individual that owns the lease.
Suppose your property had been leased for coal production, and that lease was for $99 and 99 years, and then all of a sudden, a foreign company buys that lease from that company that is defunct. How do you go back and prove that?
Good question. Yeah, we see a lot of that, where the company makes you a promise that they're going to maintain this or they're going to take care of this, but once they sell it to another company, then it's like whatever deal that you had with the prior company doesn't carry through.
Well, how can that be legal? How can it be legal that a foreign company has more rights to my property than I do?
Well, as someone that believes very strongly in the United States Constitution, I'm still trying to get my mind around how a private company can in and take as much property as they believe is reasonable. Now, I'm sure if we went and took a poll and asked people in here, your idea of reasonable, we probably have 150 different definitions of that.
Well, that's true, but just as you said, your property, if I'm putting $100,000 to $200,000 into my home, and out of the blue, somebody comes and says, sorry, you don't have any rights. We own everything that's under your feet, and it's going to come and put these things in my backyard? Yes, they can. But who gave them that right? What politician gave them that right?
In that first video that we saw that I showed you with that night video, the emissions, we saw where the emissions were not only they're extremely high, the Railroad Commission could only make a recommendation. And the recommendation was that Aruba should consider using nitrogen oxide controls, filter, if you will, on its diesel generator engines in situations where potentials for off-site impact are high. My house is an off-site impact